Breaking tonight, newly released emails about the Clinton Foundation are leading to some serious new allegations. Suggestions that the foundation was collecting millions in a cash for favors setup during Mrs. Clinton's time at State. And tonight, a former Justice Department lawyer is telling us the new revelations suggest some legal lines may have been crossed. Good evening and welcome to the Kelly File, everyone. I'm Megyn Kelly. New details emerging now after a federal court ordered the release of more emails from Clinton's private server. These are documents recovered by the FBI that Mrs. Clinton may have tried to destroy. And they are just the latest drip in what's becoming a steady stream of troubling messages between Hillary Clinton's family charity and her State Department staffers, who appear to be very cozy. The messages lend credence to the notion that there are wealthy donors who paid top dollars for favors from America's top diplomat, while ordinary Americans were left to fend for themselves if they wanted access. Even Mrs. Clinton seems to admit this doesn't look good.
My work as Secretary of State was not influenced by any outside forces. I made policy decisions based on what I thought was right. I know there's a lot of smoke and there's no fire.
In moments, we'll speak with former Justice Department lawyer Shannon Coffin, who says there are potential violations here of at least 3 federal laws. But first, we go to Trace Gallagher at our breaking news desk with the details from these new messages. Trace?
And Megyn, if you're connecting dots, this latest round of emails appears to draw a bold line directly between the Clinton Foundation and Hillary Clinton's inner circle while she was Secretary of State. The emails were given to ABC News by the conservative group Citizens United. In one exchange from 2010, top Clinton Foundation official Doug Band and Hillary Clinton's closest aide, Huma Abedin, talk about special seating for an upcoming State Department lunch with Chinese President Hu Jintao. Doug Band even names names, including the president of UBS Wealth Management, Bob McCann, Western Union CEO Hikmet Ersek, and Rockefeller Foundation president Dr. Judith Rodin. A later email specifically requested that Rodin be seated at Vice President Joe Biden's table, to which Huma Abedin responded, quote, "I'll ask." For the record, UBS had given the Clinton Foundation between $500,000 and $1 million. Western Union between $1 and $5 million. The Rockefeller Foundation between $10 and $25 million. When asked about the Clinton Foundation trying to get prime seats to a lunch for a foreign dignitary, the State Department said it, quote, does not believe it is inappropriate. The Clinton campaign called Citizens United a right-wing group trying to make something out of nothing. And on ABC's This Week, the interim chair of the Democratic National Committee, Donna Brazile, seemed to acknowledge that giving big donors access is just part of the process. Watch.
This notion that somehow or another, someone who is a supporter, someone who's a donor, somebody who's an activist saying, I want access, I want to come into a room and I want to meet people, we often criminalize behavior that is normal, and I don't see what the smoke is.
Again, the smoke comment. The State Department says it cannot provide a list of who did and did not attend the lunch with the Chinese president. Megyn.
Trace, thank you. Joining us now, Shannon Coffin, former Justice Department Assistant Deputy Attorney General under President George W. Bush, and a former Chief Legal Counsel to Vice President Dick Cheney. Shannon, good to see you.
Hi,
so,
Megyn.
I mean, Donna Brazile, you got to hand it to her on the honesty front. You know, I like Donna Brazile, but it's not going to fly with the American people to say, look, everyone is bought off. You know, like your donors give you lots of money, so they get access the American people don't get, and they get invited to the State Department and get to rub elbows with power and set themselves up for future success in a way regular Americans don't. That's a system we have to live with. You say it's actually not that simple. It actually might be criminal.
Well, look, their claim is there's only smoke, but lots of people die from smoke inhalation. So smoke is a problem here. And there are, look, in addition to what Trace discussed, we saw emails last week that the Crown Prince of Bahrain was going through the Clinton Foundation in order to get a meeting with Hillary Clinton at the State Department when normal channels had had prevented him from doing so, and the same channel. It was
well,
Doug
and this again, you see it very clearly. Here, Trace just took us through it, where you got the guy from the Clinton Foundation, Doug Band, specifically sending the people he wants to see at this luncheon for the China State luncheon, and gives 3 names, and then he asks about this one person in particular, saying, "Can we get her at Biden's table?" And Hoover writes back, "I'll ask." I mean, it's obvious. This is what Trump has been trying to tap into, saying she's bought and paid for. She owes so many favors to so many people who have donated to her foundation that you can never get an honest judgment from her, because it's all about repaying the people who paid her. You say it actually may be criminal. Why would you go that far?
Look, there's a back door here that normal citizens don't have. If you make a contribution to the Clinton Foundation, you're more likely to get access to Hillary Clinton at the State Department. And there are at least 3 different categories of federal laws which may be implicated. One, the Ethics in Government Act, which says you can't use a public office for private gain for yourself or even for a charity. The law says specifically a charity that you're associated with. So in giving special access to the donors for the Clinton Foundation, the Ethics in Government Act is implicated.
Well, but let me ask you that, because
employees would lose their job over that.
But how does Hillary gain? If you're talking about a private gain, how does she gain?
But that's not what the law requires. It doesn't require that money go into Hillary's pocket. It could be enough that her husband gets speaking engagements.
Which
could be enough. Which happened. It could be enough that the foundation with her name on it gets more money.
All right,
which
I know the second
happening.
one that you're focused on, potential law here, is the bribery, the anti-bribery laws. How could that be violated?
Well, look, this is the hardest group of statutes to prove. You have to have a quid pro quo. You have to, and we've seen in a recent case involving the former governor of Virginia that just setting up, say, sitting someone at a luncheon may not be enough to violate those statutes. But I will tell you this: the federal government, if the shoe were on the other foot here, and a U.S. company were giving money to a foreign charity that was associated with the foreign secretary, the Polish Secretary of State, that the U.S. government will prosecute the U.S. government will prosecute that U.S. company. And that's exactly what we have here. That's called the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. But that's based on the U.S. bribery laws. So for the people who are seeking access to Hillary Clinton by giving money to the charity, there's a grounds for prosecution of those givers, okay? Now, whether or not that Hillary Clinton can get reached by those laws, there's a lot more facts that have to be developed.
It's unbelievable. When you see the tentacles of the Clinton Foundation and how dicey this was for her to maintain it.
But let's talk about the foundation.
Quickly, go ahead.
The foundation could be a foreign agent for the Prince of Bahrain. When the foundation says, he's our friend, can you get a meeting with Hillary Clinton? And Huma says, Friday at 10 a.m., that the foundation itself could be an unregistered foreign agent. Whenever an agent for a foreign government or a foreign company goes before the U.S. government and seeks favors, that person is supposed to register with the Justice Department.
I got it. So
that certainly
and they're not
didn't
supposed to go
happen
do
here.
the bidding of some foreign dignitary at our State Department. I got to leave it at that.
That's right.
Shannon, great to see you.
Good to see you too, Megan.
I mean, you get it, right? It's like complex, and this is why many people just leave it to the side and don't bother. But you understand what was happening, right? I mean, was it improper? Did it have the appearance of impropriety? And was it potentially illegal? Those are all fair game questions in an election for the presidency. Meantime, a new poll suggests that this foundation story is becoming bigger. In the latest Monmouth survey, 54% say that Mrs. Clinton gave special treatment to foundation donors. They believe she did. David Wohl's an attorney. Richard Fowler's a nationally syndicated radio talk show host and a senior fellow at the New Leaders Council. Good to see you both. Richard,
good to see you, Megan.
What do you make? Why is the Clinton Foundation telling Hillary's right-hand woman who they want at this lunch and where they should be seated?
Sadly, Megan, this is what you call the same old Washington politics. Whether you're Democrats or Republicans, people play connections in different states, in different departments, into the White House. It happens all the time. We saw Halliburton had no bid contracts during the Iraq War. This is the same old Washington politics, which is where I agree with Donna Brazile. If we want to end that, we take the corporate money out of our politics and we solve that problem.
They do. The American people do want to end that.
But before we go and penalize the Clinton Global Fund for what the Clinton Foundation for what they've been able to do, let's talk about all the good things they've done, right? There's millions and millions of women and girls.
I'm conceding that point for the purposes of this discussion. That's a dodge, Richard. That's a dodge.
No, but
we're not talking about whether the Clinton Foundation did good things. Good for them. We need charitable organizations. The question is whether Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton used it, used her position at stake to get donations to it, which is not allowed. Go ahead, David.
Megan, it's clear that upon being confirmed as Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton wasted no time in converting the State Department into a full-fledged business partner of the Clinton Foundation. Are you kidding me? There was so much corruption, so much pay to play. What is the proof, Megan? I'll tell you what the proof is. The UBS case took place in 2009, right after her confirmation. They came up to her and they said, look, the IRS wants the detailed information of all of our people with offshore accounts. Can you kind of help us with that?
Yeah, they didn't want to reveal that. UBS is like, no.
She gets that cut out, and what happens right after she takes care of that problem, that UBS donates 10 times as much money to the Clinton Foundation, and suddenly Bill Clinton gets this lucrative contract for $1.5 million to do question and answer sessions with who? UBS people, UBS executives.
That's absurd.
It's quid pro quo at its very worst.
He's right.
And it's prosecutable
Megan,
under not just
Richard,
corporate
that happened. The Journal reported on this extensively at the time.
There's a couple problems in David's analysis. Number one, Hillary Clinton has no power over the IRS whatsoever. Number two, and more importantly, the fact just because her husband got a speaking gig from UBS does not mean that the Secretary of State was implicated in any such matter.
Not to mention the fact. Unusual intervention on her part, an unusual intervention.
Fair. Not to mention the fact that the lawyer before talked about this China dinner, right? The three people that went through the China dinner all have business involving China. The Rockefeller Foundation,
That's why they wanted her to get them in.
But that's the job of the Secretary of State to lobby for Americans and American businesses.
Go ahead, speak to that, David. You heard his point. That's her job. Her job is to lobby for American businesses. That's why she should have let them in.
And Megan, here's the reality. You know what? There's not going to be a prosecution. There's not going to be a prosecution because of the fact that Loretta Lynch's boss has formally endorsed Hillary Clinton. But the reality is, while there may be no legal consequences from what happened here, this bribery, this racketeering, and that's what it was, there will be political consequences. The polls are already starting to show that. Donald Trump is moving up in the polls, and it's in large part because of this.
I don't know what polls you're talking about, but okay. In the poll, all the polls show that Hillary Clinton is ahead sizably, number one, and number two, and more. Number two, and more importantly, is that Donald Trump has more problems than O.J. Simpson when it comes to run for being president of the United States. So there you have it.
I'm going to have to digest that.
Come on,
I thought
Richard.
you were going for like more issues than a magazine rack. That would have been easier.
I was trying.
Easy
I was trying for a good
nice
analogy.
Okay. Great to see you both. So there are also some new dramatic questions tonight about what some call the original campaign promise from Donald Trump.
We're going to build the wall, and who's going to pay for that wall? Who?
Is that wall already crumbling right in front of our very eyes? Governor Mike Huckabee is next on that.